How can something so small carry so much mystery, so much spiritual strength, that a saint would dedicate his life to it? What Padre Pio warned about the Rosary is not something to be ignored. He knew, with the wisdom of one who had lived his faith intensely, that this practice has the power to transform lives. And the question that begs to be asked is, have you ever touched the Rosary with that kind of trust, believing that something truly powerful can happen? Because, according to him, when you hold it, well, get ready for the unexpected. Each new day brings with it a new opportunity to draw closer to God. Starting the day in prayer is not just a religious tradition but an intimate gesture of surrender, a way of saying, "Lord, guide my path." And when this practice is joined with the Rosary, a deeper spiritual connection is formed, one that shapes thoughts and attitudes throughout the day. It's like giving the Spirit the armor it needs to face the daily challenges. By the way, have you tried starting your day with a short, simple prayer? Just a simple, but sincere, phrase. Throughout the day, maintaining a constant conversation with God is a powerful act, and the Rosary becomes a faithful companion on that journey. Each bead represents a supplication, a gratitude, a renewed hope. And at the end of the day, when exhaustion sets in, turning back to prayer feels like closing the cycle with peace. Imagine coming home after a long day and taking 5 minutes to recite a decade. Doesn't that sound comforting? Whether you're alone or with family, it's a moment between you and God. Beyond protection, the Rosary strengthens the faith as a devotional routine that nourishes the soul daily. It's like exercising the Spirit, just as we exercise our bodies. How many of us face moments of doubt, feeling distant from Jesus Christ? The Rosary reminds us that we are never alone. It is the link between man and the divine mysteries. Constant prayer brings us closer not only to God but also to the Church and the faith community. With each bead that slips through your fingers, a space opens for daily miracles. Ready to discover the power of keeping it close? Sleeping with the Rosary under your pillow is not just a symbolic gesture, but an act of faith that brings peace and protection throughout the night. How often is our sleep disturbed by worries and anxieties? Having the Rosary close by works as a spiritual anchor, as if you're entrusting Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary with guarding your soul while you rest. It's a simple habit, but it can transform your nights into moments of true peace. Additionally, the Rosary becomes a daily reminder of prayer. You know that moment when you wake up, before even opening your eyes, and you feel the weight of the day ahead? Well, finding the Rosary is a subtle invitation to start the journey with a devotional heart. It doesn't require a long prayer, just a brief conversation with God, asking for wisdom and strength for the challenges ahead. And what greater strength can there be than feeling guided by the love of Mary? Finally, this simple act connects you to a millennia-old tradition of faith. By placing the Rosary under your pillow, you're not just practicing your devotion, but uniting with countless believers throughout history who sought peace and protection in this way. It's as if every morning, when you touch the Rosary, you're renewing your faith and your readiness to follow the Gospel. And then, have you ever thought that this small act might be the first step to creating a routine of spirituality in your life? Padre Pio didn't see the Rosary as a mere devotional object, but as a true spiritual weapon. He said that by holding the beads of the Rosary, he felt strengthened against evil and closer to Jesus Christ. His unshakable faith and the constant practice of prayer made him a living example of spirituality, to the point that many reports indicate he prayed over 30 rosaries a day. Now imagine the strength in following the advice of someone who lived his faith so intensely. The Rosary was so present in Padre Pio's life that he carried it with him at all times, even during sleep. For him, there was no right time or ideal place to pray. Any moment was fitting to lift the spirit to God. What a valuable lesson! If he could find time, even with a routine filled with religious duties and attending to the faithful, what's stopping us from doing the same amidst our daily occupations? Perhaps it's a matter of priority, don't you think? The miracles attributed to Padre Pio reinforce the power he attributed to the Rosary. Interestingly, many of these reports involve the intercession of Mary, showing that, when praying, he truly believed in the transformative power of prayer. From inexplicable healings to supernatural visions, Padre Pio always credited everything to God's love and the protection of the Virgin. So, how about starting today to include this practice in your routine, trusting that God hears every plea made with faith and devotion? Padre Pio's devotion to Our Lady of Pompeii was much more than a simple demonstration of faith. It was a deep bond, built over years of prayer and pilgrimages. He frequently visited the sanctuary dedicated to her, seeking spiritual refuge and inspiration to face the challenges of his mission. And how many do the same today, seeking comfort and direction from the Virgin Mary in times of trial? Perhaps you've felt that need at some point in your life. The history of the Pompeii sanctuary is as fascinating as its devotion. Founded by Bartolo Longo, a man who experienced a profound conversion, the site became a symbol of faith and miracles. Bartolo, by restoring a picture of the Madonna that had been abandoned, started a movement that attracted thousands of believers, many of whom testified to miraculous healings and graces received through Mary's intercession. Padre Pio himself recognized the power of this sacred place, encouraging his followers to visit it and strengthen their faith. More than just a site of worship, the sanctuary of Our Lady of Pompeii represents the continuation of a tradition that spans generations. Every prayer offered there echoes the same spirit of faith that moved Bartolo Longo and so many others. And like Padre Pio, those who draw near to this legacy find spiritual renewal and strength to keep going. Wouldn't it be wonderful to join this chain of faith, even with a simple daily prayer dedicated to Mary? Padre Pio's life was marked by a constant interplay of extraordinary miracles and intense trials. He didn't just experience spiritual visions, he also endured supernatural attacks that tested his faith relentlessly. One such episode involved demonic apparitions that attempted to disturb him during prayer, yet he was never shaken. With the Rosary in hand and trust in Mary's intercession, he faced those moments with impressive serenity. If he found strength in such a simple gesture, why can't we follow the same path? One of the most emblematic miracles associated with Padre Pio is the case of the rose that remained fresh until the day of his death. This small but significant detail is often mentioned as a symbol of his special connection with the Virgin Mary, to whom he dedicated much of his life. Stories like this inspire not only admiration but also invite us to reflect on the power that faith and prayer can have in our lives. Perhaps that seemingly impossible request you've made is closer to being answered than you think. Padre Pio's trials were not limited to the spiritual realm. He also faced criticism, misunderstanding, and physical illnesses. Even so, his response was always the same: patience, prayer, and unwavering faith. How many times do we find ourselves in situations that seem unbearable? Following Padre Pio's example means understanding that, in the face of suffering, we are never alone. God sees, hears, and acts, even if silently and in His perfect timing. For Padre Pio, the Rosary was not merely a religious practice but a continuous meditation on the mysteries of Christ and Mary. Each bead represented a deep dive into spirituality, an opportunity to connect with the sacred amidst daily life. He believed that the Rosary had the power to shape character, strengthen faith, and bring a unique inner peace. Anyone who has tried praying the Rosary daily knows how much it calms the mind and brings clarity to life's decisions. Padre Pio valued the Rosary so deeply that he encouraged everyone around him to adopt this practice. It didn't matter if they were young Christians seeking purpose or mature individuals facing crises of faith. To him, the Rosary was always the answer. With his simple and direct language, he taught that each mystery prayed was a chance to draw closer to Jesus Christ and to live according to the teachings of the Gospel. Why not set aside 15 minutes a day to try this practice and feel the difference? In times of uncertainty and spiritual challenges, Padre Pio saw the Rosary as an effective weapon against the forces of evil. It wasn't just a symbol of devotion but a spiritual shield capable of protecting the soul from temptations and discouragement. He said that when he prayed the Rosary, he felt stronger in facing both his internal and external battles. If he, with all the trials he faced, found peace and strength in the Rosary, Imagine how much we too could benefit from this simple yet powerful practice. The canonization of Padre Pio was a historic moment that brought together millions of faithful from around the world, celebrating his life dedicated to the gospel and prayer. The process began with a rigorous investigation of his miracles and virtues until the Church officially recognized his sainthood. For many, this canonization was not a surprise but a confirmation of what they had already believed, that he was a living example of faith, humility, and service to others. After all, how many other modern saints have inspired such deep devotion? Among the miracles recognized during the canonization process, one stands out: the inexplicable healing of a woman who, after praying for his intercession, was freed from a serious illness. Testimonies like this reinforce the belief in the power of the saint's intercession, showing that they continue to act spiritually even after death. It's as if Padre Pio, with his hands marked by the stigmata, is still beside those who cry out for help. Have you ever considered the impact of asking for his intercession in difficult moments? The celebration of Padre Pio's canonization was more than just a religious event. It was a milestone that united believers from all walks of life, reinforcing the importance of pursuing a life of faith and prayer. It wasn't merely about honoring a holy man, but inspiring every Christian to walk the same path of love and devotion. And his legacy didn't end there, for with his elevation to sainthood, his message of hope and perseverance in faith spread even further. Are you ready to follow this example and make faith a transformative force in your life? Padre Pio's legacy transcends time and remains alive through constant pilgrimages to his sanctuary, prayer groups dedicated to the Rosary, and countless charitable works that bear his name. His example inspires millions to cultivate a life of prayer and service to others, just as he did at every moment of his mission. Whether someone is just beginning their faith journey or has traveled far along the path, there is always something new to learn from Padre Pio's life. These groups, spread across the world, bring together people who turn to the Rosary as a means of facing their spiritual and daily battles. Joining such a group is not merely about praying in community. It's about finding support and encouragement to stay strong in faith. Have you ever thought about gathering friends or family to pray together, following this example of spirituality in action? Beyond prayer, Padre Pio's legacy includes charitable works that continue to benefit thousands of people. His hospital, Casa Sollievo della Sofferenza, House for the Relief of Suffering, stands as a symbol of love for others and faith put into action. Through it, he shows us that living the Christian faith goes beyond words. It requires action. Whether through a sincere prayer or a kind gesture, each of us can contribute to keeping this legacy alive. As he often said, charity is the fruit of faith. Padre Pio taught that holiness isn't reserved for those who achieve great feats but for those who face daily life with love, humility, and prayer. His simple life, filled with devotion, reminds us that being holy means being available to God in every small act. How often do we overlook the power of a simple gesture, like taking a moment to pray before starting the day? He shows us that by making the ordinary sacred, we can transform our reality. One of the most valuable lessons he left behind is the importance of continuous prayer. Padre Pio often said, "Prayer is the best weapon we have." And this weapon isn't limited to clergy or religious leaders. Anyone can use it to strengthen their faith and find peace amid adversity. Have you tried establishing a prayer routine, even a brief one, during moments like before a meeting, while driving, or at the end of the day? These are the moments when the heart connects with God. Another powerful lesson from his life is unwavering trust in God, even in the face of suffering. He believed that trials were not punishments but opportunities for spiritual growth. Imagine how many difficulties could be faced with greater calm if, instead of despair, we cultivated faith. Padre Pio invites us to see each challenge as a chance to draw closer to God and live the gospel in its purest form. Padre Pio often said, "The Rosary is the chain that links us to Mary's heart." For him, this daily practice was not just a demonstration of devotion but a tangible way to seek peace, hope, and spiritual strength. Anyone who has faced moments of deep anguish knows how difficult it can be to stay calm and keep the faith, but the Rosary can offer that refuge, that pause to take a deep breath and surrender our worries to God. And if there were a moment today to do that, what would it be? The practice of the Rosary doesn't require excessive time or a specific place. Whether at home, at work, or during a walk, just a small daily effort can keep this flame of faith alive. Padre Pio believed that by praying the Rosary, every Christian gains spiritual strength to face life's challenges. Think about how often you've felt overwhelmed and sought an immediate solution. Perhaps the answer was in something as simple as a moment of sincere prayer. Besides offering inner peace, the Rosary unites generations in faith. By holding the same beads that so many saints and faithful have held, each Christian connects with a millennia-old tradition of worship and hope. Whether you're just beginning your faith journey or have been walking this path for years, there are always new graces to be found through devotion to the Rosary. And who knows? By adopting this practice, you may discover something that transforms your life in an unexpected way. Pray, hope, and don't worry. This simple yet profound phrase sums up Padre Pio's legacy and carries a call to action. He doesn't just invite us to pray, he urges us to trust fully in God and surrender our worries to Him. How often do we become overly anxious about things beyond our control? Prayer is an act of faith that reminds us that while we do our part, God takes care of the rest. Perhaps what's missing today is that act of surrender. Padre Pio's example inspires us to make the Rosary a daily practice, not as an obligation but as a weapon of love and peace, a way to strengthen our faith and maintain serenity in the face of difficulties. Imagine starting each day with this mindset: pray, trust, and move forward without bearing the weight of worries alone. It's a path that requires effort but offers a reward beyond what we can see. After all, those who seek God never go unanswered. Following Padre Pio's example means embracing a life of practical faith, where each act of prayer and devotion becomes a foundation for facing life with courage. He teaches us that spirituality doesn't have to be distant or unattainable. It simply requires a willingness to take the first step. And now, after all you've read, what are you waiting for to begin this journey of prayer and hope?